Hey guys, welcome to Season 5, Episode 7 for the Generation podcast.
We're your hosts, Natalie Velasco
and Natalie Gomez.
Today we're doing our second episode of our 3-episode series, First Gen Through the Years. The last episode was with freshman Vex and sophomore Sion. And this week's episode is with junior Natalie Lopez and senior Veronica Gomez.
So for our first guest, we have Natalie Lopez, who is a junior film production major and double minor in Chicana, Chicano, and Latino and Latina studies and a business administration. And she also has a great deal of experience in the entertainment industry, some of which include working at the Oscars, Emmys, is it SAG Awards or SAG Awards, and with London Alley Entertainment. She also worked on music videos for Lizzo and Post Malone and has even directed a number of short films and documentaries. She is currently an executive assistant at Suhloot, a software development company.
Our second guest is Veronica Lopez. She's a senior majoring... I saw Lopez at the top of my brain. I'm starting that one over, guys. It's super early in the morning for me.
I have the same last name as her. We're sisters.
Our second guest is Veronica Gomez. She's a senior majoring in sociology and double minoring in peace and justice studies and political science. Currently at LMU, she is part of Sigma Lambda Gamma, National Sorority, MEChA De LMU, El Espejo Mentorship, Alternative Breaks Trip Leader to Belize, Sociology Society, Alpha Alpha Alpha, First Gen Honor Society, Alpha Kappa Delta, Jesus Christ, Sociology Honor Society, First to Go program, Ignacio Student Support Services, McNair Scholars Program, and McNair Scholars Program. She also works for First to Go as peer outreach specialist, peer lead instructor, and student lead administrator. Lastly, she's going to UCLA for her master's in education. She's also done some research, which we'll talk about later.
That was a lot.
Yeah, sorry. I was tripping over my words. There's too many things.
Do you guys have anything else you'd like to add before we get started?
A little Bretman Rock intro, like a scientist, activist, coconut water kind of. No, I'm good.
No, I'm super happy to be here, so thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Of course.
Thank you for being on here.
So, the first question we have for you guys is, what does being first gen mean to you?
You go first.
Ooh, okay, so I think, it's a good question, just because I feel like I live like my life being first gen, obviously. Mm-hmm. It's a huge part of my identity, one of many. But I think first gen to me means like paving the way for future generations. I love a quote that Lexi always says, "Lift as we rise," and I think that's super meaningful to me, just because like I've had mentors throughout my entire life, you know, in high school that got me to this point in life, and also like Lexi and my mentors here at LMU have also done that. First gen also means, you know, like we're going to go through struggles and obstacles that no one else understands.
Yeah.
But it's like, how are we going to figure out how to like overcome those struggles with like the support systems and stuff? So that's what first gen means to me. And like, yeah, we do go through struggles and challenges, but at the end of the day, it's like, how do we like value our first gen identity? Because like I said, no one else like understands that. And it's like a superpower to me. Yeah.
Definitely. Going off of that, no, I'm just kidding. But I definitely feel like being first gen to me is like you're a trailblazer, like in every aspect of the way. And it can get lonely sometimes because you're basically the only one like doing that, whatever. Because we're all first gen, but like we're all doing a bunch of different fields of first gen work. So like even if we're in a community, like there's still certain things that you're gonna have to navigate by yourself. And I think being first gen means like you are courageous, like you are like not afraid to take that leap because you know it's like what's necessary for you to get ahead, because it's either you or like no one else. Like you have to be the one to do it for yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So it's very much like it's not that you're not afraid of things, it's just that you don't let that fear eat you, you know? Like you just go out and do stuff despite of it. And I think that like goes to that superpower aspect where it's like, it's an asset really to be first gen because you have this like structured mentality that nobody else around you has most times, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I really like that superhero thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was really good.
Lexi, I feel like Lexi, like, I could talk about her later on, I think, once we get more specific
Yeah.
to the questions. But
Yeah.
I think for me as a freshman, like, I struggled a lot. Like, I held resentment with identity for a very long time just because I'm like, why do I have to struggle? Like, why do I have to start off, like, working 10 times harder than other people? Like, why? But I think it's more so like, okay, I've gotten to, like, certain points in my life, and I want other students to also feel like it's, like, an empowerment instead of, like, something that's bad.
Yeah.
So, like, I think because of her, like, I've been able to embrace, like, being first gen, and, like, thankful for all my mentors and stuff, because they've, like, very much so helped me value, like, what it is to be first gen.
Yeah, for sure.
So how would you say that being first gen has impacted your junior year and then your senior year?
Okay, well, for me, I went abroad for half of my junior year.
Ooh.
So, and that was the first time, like, anyone in my, like, not just, like, my immediate family, but, like, my entire family had, like, studied somewhere else. Because even just being first gen, like, coming here local was a big deal. So then going all the way across the country to Germany was, like, huge.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of moments where, like, here I had done so much groundwork on not being, like, not feeling like an imposter and, you know, just, like, feeling at home in my own, like, domain. But then going somewhere completely different, I felt all those emotions all over again, where it's like, it's completely different people. It's a completely different culture. It felt like freshman year all over again almost. But I definitely think that because I had already done all that groundwork here, it was easier to just, like, apply it when I went over there.
Yeah.
So I feel like being first gen kind of just meant, like, okay, yes, it's going to be, like, a little scary, but again, just, like, keep going and just navigate your way through it, because that way other people can then do the same thing and you can, like, share about it. So that's what it was.
Did you have to learn how to speak German?
I did.
Oh my gosh.
I did. But don't ask me to say anything.
I was gonna be like, can you say something in German, please?
Damn. Oh, my Name ist Natalie Lopez.
Your name is Natalie Lopez.
That was good.
Yeah, and then I forgot everything else.
That's valid. That's valid.
So how has my first gen identity impacted my senior year?
Yeah.
Okay. I think just viewing back, like, my freshman year, I never thought I was gonna get to, like, this point in life. Just because, like, we're all scared as little freshmen. Like, I know I was having such a hard time transitioning into college.
Yeah.
Just being on my own and stuff. Emil can testify to that. He saw me cry many times. And even Lexi. But I think it's more so, like, looking back at all the years that I've been here. And it's so sad now because, like, we're, like, a month away from graduation in a few days.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so it's just, like, I think it's also, like, thinking for the future. Like, I'm no longer thinking about the past. Like, yeah, I've already made it to, like, the point in life that I never saw myself getting to.
Yeah.
But it's now, like, the future. And a lot of times, like, my parents don't understand that, like, after college and having my degree, I still won't be making a lot of money. Like, it takes time. And so kind of, like, preparing them to understand that is super important. And then even also, like, grad school. I think my first gen identity impacted that just because, like, applying to undergrad, I didn't really know much. I also didn't know much to applying to grad school.
Right.
And if it wasn't for Lexi or Jess from ISSS, like, I'd be lost. And they've really, like, guided me through it all. And I can't thank them enough because, like, they're one of the reasons why I'm even going to UCLA in the summer. It's, like, sometimes we don't even know what we don't know. And that's, like, the biggest thing. And if it's not, like, for mentorship and, like, that guidance, I think, like, I wouldn't know. And everything that I've done, like, based on, like, the years and stuff that I've, like, gained experience, I was able to figure out, like, during the summer what exactly I wanted to do. So I think it's, like, super important to kind of prepare yourself throughout the years and kind of, like, try different things in order to, like, be prepared for your senior year.
Yeah.
And even then, you're not even prepared. Like, I had, like, a whole mental crisis, like, during the summer after coming back from Duke. I was like, I don't know if I want to do my PhD. I don't know if I want to go to grad school. Like, I'm tired of school.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this. But it's more so, like, where do I want to be in this amount of years and, like, what is going to take me there.
Right.
So, yeah, being first gen is definitely forever. Like, you're going to be first gen in careers, you're going to be first gen in grad school, and it's just like at this point, like, we just have to figure it out with like our support systems.
Do you feel like applying to grad school, it kind of put you back in that like mindset when you were applying to college, or
Yeah, for sure. I feel like in some way applying to undergrad, obviously, like, at the time I didn't think this, like, it was easier,
right?
But definitely, like, I had like, I knew what I wanted to do, right? Like, I was like, okay, like, my next step after high school is going to be college, so I just have to apply and like see where I go. And that was just like the basics, right? And then now in grad school, I have so many different like opportunities, so many different like pathways, and I think that's what I was struggling with, like trying to figure out what path I wanted to take, and like what was going to help me like get to like the career goal that I wanted. But definitely, like, now in grad school, like, you're more specific with what you want to like spend time on, you know, like my master's is going to be in education, but I also could have done like sociology and things like that. So it's definitely more specific, and like you really need to know what you want to do.
For sure.
Like, even though like I still
did it. So
you did it.
I did it. Yeah, thank you.
Congrats.
What would you tell yourself a year ago about your experience as a junior and senior?
Ooh, okay. Well, I feel like for me, my freshman year was on Zoom, and then half of my sophomore year was on Zoom, and then finally, like, the last semester of my sophomore year was in person, and I just remember feeling like so definitely let down. I just felt like I'm not getting like the experience that I wanted. I want to have like more involvement and stuff like that. And I was kind of upset at like the pace of it all, because I feel like when you're first gen, you're used to going so quick, like so fast. Like, you're on survival mode, or like you're just like going so quickly to try to get things done. And sophomore year and like the whole COVID, I feel like everybody can relate to this. It was just like so slow. And I remember just like wanting things to go faster. And then I went abroad, and then things were like so freaking fast. I was like, be careful what you wish for, because sometimes like you just want to have like the like normal pace. Like, normalcy is normal. Like, don't be afraid of normalcy. I think I had to like learn that. So I would just tell my sophomore self, I would be like, chill, please. Like, just take your time, like, live in the moment. Don't be too like hard on yourself, I think. Because I feel like when you're in college, you definitely feel like there's a certain amount of things you have to hit, and there's like so many things you have to do, and it feels like time is running out sometimes, especially like when you're junior and you're a senior. But then just knowing that you get more out of your experience if you just like stop and slow down and just like really take it in and get to know people and look around you, and don't be afraid to like go up to people. I think my sophomore self was so closed off to everyone. Like, I was social to a certain extent, like with my friends and my peers, but not like with my film, because I'm in film production, so like my film community, I didn't really get to know them that much. And I was kind of afraid to, because in some senses I still felt like I'm an outsider in that world. But then like going abroad and then just being with them all the time, I was like, oh, they're all human beings. We're all human beings. A lot of them are also first gen. Like, there's a community like everywhere. So definitely just like not being afraid to go and like network with people, or just like be in connection with people that don't necessarily have the same background as you.
So for sure. Was your freshman year online because of COVID? And then your second semester?
So basically COVID happened like March of my freshman year.
Got it.
So like my first semester was really like an adjustment for me, and then coming into like second semester, I was like ready to like join stuff, and like I joined a bunch of stuff and like started finding my friends and things like that. And that's where COVID happened.
That's
like
so annoying.
We went on spring break and never came back. Like, we just came back to like pack our stuff and go. And then my whole sophomore year was online.
Oh my god.
That's crazy.
It was a struggle. And then junior year, like that was just a whole different arena, because like Natalie, it was an adjustment too. I think a lot of people like already had made their friends freshman year, and then for me, I was just like still trying to figure out like where I fit in too, just because I built a lot of connections like online, but then those people had like their friends from their freshman year and stuff, and then something that I did too was like I gravitated towards like people who were older, a year older, and so my junior year they were seniors. And it was just really hard because I like relied on them a lot. Like there were a lot of people like in first to go. And so I think like what I would tell my junior year now, right? I think I'd be like, take it slow. Like everything happens for a reason. Things will like work out at the end. Because I know like back then I was like really not sure on what I wanted to do. I was like dipping my toes in a lot of things. Like I applied to like the PhD mock in poli-sci at Duke. I was doing research through McNair, and then I was also just like working for First to Go and like really trying to figure out like what I wanted to do. But then also like I wasn't enjoying it as much either, just because of COVID. Like I feel like I stayed traumatized. Like I don't know, I was really traumatized, and like just because there's a lot of things that were still unknown. And I wish, like, I just had more free time and, like, more time to, like, spend with my friends. And then also, like, now that I'm a senior and about to graduate, I know I would say, like, oh, I wish I was a senior, like, last year. And, like, I wish I was, like, graduating already. But honestly, like, I'm glad I didn't graduate last year. Because I definitely had a lot of time to think about what I wanted to do as a next step. And I'm enjoying this year now, especially, like, just being a student and like being like able to like go to parties and like, you know, like really have that social aspect that I didn't have during COVID.
Yeah, for sure. How do you think like the First to Go program helped you guys adjust to college, or even like translating that into your older, like your upper, oh my gosh, what word am I trying to say here? Like being an upperclassman.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, I'm so tired.
I think for me, because my freshman year, which is when the First to Go program, like all those classes happened, was on Zoom. I think it was so much more essential. Like First to Go was that much more important for creating a community and making me feel like less alone, because like Zoom classes feel very like isolating.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was definitely happy. Like at first I was like, oh, why do I have to have like more classes, and like this is annoying, like I could just like be getting ahead.
Now I'm finding out how she really felt.
You knew.
I feel like that's valid though.
No, it's
because I remember
valid.
when I was like applying and I got into the program, I was like, I have to take 2 classes for this.
It's definitely a lot of commitment. Like
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and
for
I was
sure.
like, damn, like I'm already like behind because I'm first gen, and then I have to take like 2 more classes. It was a whole like mentality thing.
Yeah.
But then like actually being part of the program and then getting to meet the people that I got to meet, I just think it was so important, and establishing like at least like a ground, like some like just a base, like a base camp that you could always go to. And even now, like I don't necessarily talk to everyone in First to Go or like everybody that was in that program, but just knowing that like even if I just saw them walking around on campus, like we share a common experience, and I know that you know who I am, and I know who you are, and I know what you've been through, because we got so vulnerable in that first year with each other,
for sure.
which I'm sure you guys have experienced. Like you just really like really get to know each other, and I think that was really important, being able to have a space where you could be vulnerable and be like, you know what, today freaking sucked, and like my class is really hard, and you know, like I'm having a hard time with this, and just having people that you could go to was really, really helpful when it was over Zoom, and I didn't have access to like anybody on campus. You know?
For sure.
And then just having Lexi and like all the peer I think the peer facilitators for me were like the people that I gravitated to the most, because I could really like see how it had changed them, because they had done it in person. So I was like, okay, like I understand like what this means to you, and it kind of motivated me to also be passionate about it.
Yeah, for sure.
But it definitely helped me like like break out of my shell, like to start off, like just get to know people, ask questions, and then just being able to know, because as first gen you don't know the resources that are available to you, especially like at a school like this where everything is kind of like you have to ask somebody to like find somebody else and stuff like that. So then having not like our hand being held, but it's kind of like just having like a spotlight on certain things. Like you can go to the library for this, you can ask them for that, they can give you a camera, they can give you a charger, like the places that you could go to for help, and being able to ask for help, even that was a big thing, because we were learning how to like deconstruct that framework of like, I don't need any help, like I can do this by myself. I'm like, you know, like the luchar mentality, I don't know, like the hardworking. Exactly, yeah. Like deconstructing that, because that oftentimes puts you behind, like thinking like you have to be the one to do everything and like control everything. That puts you behind. And that's what differentiates you from like people who have established connections for like years and their parents went here, like just being first gen in general. So that was definitely so helpful for me, at least.
First to go. I obviously started as a freshman, like, participant in First to Go. I remember, I just, like, I liked it, right? Like, I found, like, a sense of community and stuff with Lexi, like, the upperclassmen and stuff. My cohort was kind of, like, not very much so, like, so close, just because, like, we had a lot of people in it. And so we were also separated for, like, the rhetorical arts class and, like, FYS. So we weren't that close. Yeah, like, I've made a lot of great connections and stuff. And I'm still friends with a lot of people. But during that time, like, we were not, like, that close. Like, our relationships built over time. But without First to Go, like, I don't know what I'd be doing, honestly. Like, I remember, like, the first weeks, like, I just, like, would cry in my room.
That's so valid.
No, literally. I would, we would go to, like, the first, because First to Go reminded me a lot of, like, my Upward Bound program in high school. So, like, that's why I, like, definitely gravitated towards, like, the program.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, like, when we were in retreat, like, everyone just seemed to be happy and, like, so willing to be there and, like, wanting to make friends and stuff. But the thing is, like, everyone as a freshman is like that. Like, they're just trying to, like, be friends with everyone and this and that. But for me, like, it didn't work. Like, I didn't want it. I wanted, like, to be, like, have genuine connections there. And I was just having, like, a really hard time trying to, like, figure out, like, who I was in the space, a lot of imposter syndrome and stuff. And so, like, we'd be in long days with First to Go, and then I'd just go back to my room and just cry. Like, I, like, hated being here and stuff. And then when classes started, that was even, like, the worst, because, like, one, like, I didn't know what to do, and it was just so weird to be with, like, random people. It was definitely an adjustment for me. But I think, like, First to Go, like, yeah, it's a great program, but it's also, like, who runs it and who works there and who's, like, supporting it, right? Without Lexi, First to Go wouldn't be an amazing program, and so she deserves a lot of credit for that. I remember, like, the first week of classes, like, I, like, had switch a class, and, like, I was, like, dealing with some registration stuff. And Lexi was like, all right, let's take a moment. Let's go to Starbucks and, like, sit down and talk. And as soon as she started talking to me, I started crying in Starbucks.
Power of Lexi.
I just started crying. And I was like, I don't want to fail. Like, what if my scholarship gets revoked? Like, what if, what if I'm not, like, supposed to be here, you know, and things like that. And, like, I felt a lot of guilt, too, because I would help my mom with, like, my nephews and babysitting and things like that. And I felt really guilty for being in college. And it was just so hard for me, because I was like I feel so bad that, like, my mom is still in that life and I'm over here, like, living somewhere else, like, in such a privileged
on the
hilltop,
space. On the hilltop,
like in Playa Vista, because I'm from South Central too. And so I felt a lot of guilt. And Lexi was like, you know what, like, your mom knows, like, you're doing this for your mom and, like, for a better future. Like, if you fail, like, the scholarship can be revoked just like that. Like, they have to come through me and things like that. And, like, we'll figure it out as we go. Like, you'll be fine. And, like, that conversation really, like, helped me out. And that's why I say, like, it's crazy to see myself now, because I really didn't think I was going to get here.
It's scary as a freshman.
It is.
I remember feeling the same. I was like, oh, my God, what if I, like, flunk out of college?
Yeah, and, like, you don't know who, like, your real friends are at the time. Like, your friend groups will change throughout, like. And, like, yeah, like, you may gravitate towards, like, some people, but, like, at the end of the day, like, you're socializing with so many. But besides my, like, how I participated as a freshman. During the summer when like COVID was happening, like I told Lexi, like, I want to work like for you, and I'm like, I one day want to have your job, and she's like, all right, let's make it happen. And so I remember doing like a whole roadmap and stuff, and like things I was gonna get involved with and stuff, and it was very intentional, and I didn't know why at the time, but then now that I look back, like I want to find that roadmap to see what exactly I did.
Yeah,
I know it's somewhere, but I just don't know where.
You should look for it.
No, for sure. And yeah, and so I took on like leadership roles. I really started like being a peer outreach specialist. Like I worked with a few other people, and honestly, like I had a hard time figuring out like how I fit in the staff.
Yeah.
Just because a lot of people already had connections and had been working there. So I was like, oh, like I feel like I don't belong. Like I feel like I'm not doing enough.
More imposter syndrome.
Syndrome. And I was like, yeah, like I don't know, like what I want to do. And then I started to create like my own projects because Lexi has a big emphasis on that. I started figuring it out a little bit more, and then I stayed there my junior year, started getting more roles. I'm like getting, I guess, promoted.
Yeah.
And then now, like as a senior, like I'm like the lead administrator, and work very closely with Lexi. And I think throughout like everything that I've been through, like with the program as a participant and even as a worker, like I've seen like how impactful the program is, even with like one connection or two that students make. The connections that I've made with you guys, like when you guys were freshmen and like things like that with Natalie, it's super impactful. And like it's just first to go, like I don't know, I'm gonna miss it definitely. That's one of the things that I'm gonna miss from LMU. It's gonna be first to go, just because I've seen so many people like develop. And it's like a great network, and I'm definitely gonna miss like my babies and stuff. And
Yeah, I'm still gonna be texting you, be like, "What professors do I take for sociology classes?"
We're gonna go visit you.
No,
we're gonna make our way over.
For sure.
Yeah, I definitely do think it's like also like who's working with the program, like the student facilitators, because like you and Emil definitely like guided all of us. We were like, what do we do? And you guys were like, okay, we got you. So that's gonna be really weird not having you around next year.
I know, like I'm
That's
used
so
to seeing
weird.
like, you guys are gonna like you guys are used to seeing me around.
Yeah.
And, like, being at the ARC, like bumping into each other. And,
Starbucks.
like, that's not gonna be there.
That's so weird.
No, I think
like,
you need to stay another year.
Yeah,
Fail
maybe
class.
just stick around for a little bit. Even like not having a meal around is kind of weird this year. Like it was definitely an adjustment.
But he's still around.
Yeah, he is.
I always see him. One thing about him.
He's so funny.
He's always at the den.
Literally, but yeah. What has motivated you guys to pursue your studies? It's a heavy question.
Yeah, I guess for me, kind of going back to like your whole thing of like feeling guilty about leaving, like something that I felt really, I had the same feeling, like because during my freshman year, like not only was it on Zoom, I wasn't at home. Like they completely moved me out to campus. So I was living completely by myself. And I lived with like 10 people in like a tiny house like before.
Oh my God.
Right?
Who moved you out?
They flew me out. I'm just kidding.
Where are you from?
Pacoima, California.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that up north?
Yeah, it's north. It's like San Fernando Valley, Silmar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Love it there. It's my head. But yeah, I left basically all of that, and then I just came here, and you weren't really allowed to like socialize with people.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Obviously. So
That's so
I
scary.
felt, it was like a lot. But I felt really guilty. Like my view was beautiful. Like I had never had my own room before, and now I had 2 bedrooms, like 4 beds, a whole kitchen, a bathroom,
Oh my God.
a bathtub. Like I never had a bathtub in my life. Like I was like, okay. So I felt so guilty, because I knew that I'm the oldest, and I have 3 younger sisters, and at the time I had 2 younger sisters. But I felt so guilty, like knowing that I was over here, like living this lifestyle that was so weird to me, and then they were back home, like still struggling in our reality, you know? So wait, what was the question? I'm sorry.
How has what motivates you to pursue your studies?
Yeah, I was going somewhere.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
that.
you got it. You got it. You're
They
on track.
motivated me. My sisters, like knowing that because I had to have the same discussion with my mentors. My mentor is Kathy Connell. She's the executive producer of the SAG Awards. And I would call her because she told me, like, anytime you're feeling like down, like just call me, like literally anytime. And I was like, okay, girl, well, I'm gonna hold you to that.
Now.
Right. So then I would call her and I'd be like, I feel like absolute shit because I'm over here living this lifestyle and they're not. And she was like, you have to understand, like, similar to what they told you, like, you have to understand, like, you focusing on yourself is only going to help them even more in the long run, because then you can be like a solid pillar in their lives versus somebody who doesn't know what they're doing with their life. And just being able to like have that space was so helpful. But I definitely do it because my family like motivates me, like being able to be that person, like how we were talking about, like don't bring the ladder up with you, like extend that, open the doors for other people, like really just like continue the flow of first gen and Latinos and like just everybody, you know, minorities into like spaces where they're not usually in. Like that, being able to do that for my family and for my younger siblings specifically, I think is what motivates me the most. Just knowing that, like, you know, now my sister is going to like music performing arts school, and like that wouldn't have happened if she wouldn't have, like, I don't want to take credit for it, but like I hope that
take credit for it.
No, me. But I hope that like her seeing how not easy, but like how attainable it is for me to do it, helped her see like I can do this too, you know. And, like, if I can do that for not just my siblings but for more people, that'll make me feel even better, you know?
For sure.
As a younger sister, I think she does like look up to you, because my sister also came from LMU, so I feel like that's also what, like, I'm like, I can do this, like it's doable.
Oh, I love that. That makes me feel great. I appreciate that.
I feel the pressure as an older sibling for sure. I have 2 younger sisters, and I'm like, oh my god, I need to do well.
There's so much responsibility. Like, there's such a weight there. Like, it's not like their fault. But you still feel like you have to be like the one to show them all the great things. Yeah, and it's not even like anyone's telling you. I think it's just kind of like a mindset as an older sibling. You're like, I need to do this. Yeah, for sure.
Shout out to all older siblings. I have 3 older sisters. Definitely have like different paths, but a lot of like personal stuff, a lot of professional stuff, like they've figured it out, and I don't know, my oldest sister especially, like she's gone through it, but then she's there, like she just recently got her BA in business admin.
Oh, wow.
With having 2 kids, a full-time job, like
that is
it's
crazy.
Wow. So shout out to her.
Shout out.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so what was the question?
Like what motivates you to pursue your studies?
Okay. I have 2 answers. I think one is obviously like coming to college and pursuing my education and just continuing to pursue my education. It's definitely my parents. They've obviously sacrificed everything, and like they've immigrated from El Salvador and now they're here. And even though like they weren't pressuring me to go to college, I knew that college was gonna give me like a leg up in like the world. Go
ahead.
I'm gonna call.
You reminded me.
Hydrate. And so definitely like they're my motivators every day, even though sometimes like they don't understand what I'm doing. They don't know what I'm doing or like how I'm doing things or what I'm involved in. But I think that trust that they have in me is super special, because I know that at the end of the day, like they'll support whatever like I want to do, and they know that I'm not playing around. Like I'm not. Maybe like I party here and there, but like they don't know that. They think like I'm a little angel. I'm getting my stuff done with a good GPA.
It's okay to like take a break sometimes.
Yeah, but like my mom doesn't believe in that. Like she doesn't believe in like going to parties and things like that. So it's super interesting. So a lot of the stuff like she doesn't know what I do here.
Mom don't listen to the podcast.
What do you mean? You don't do anything.
I don't do anything.
She's insane.
I see you in the library 24/7.
No, literally.
Starbucks 24/7 on like caramel macchiato, because like I don't sleep, studying hard all the time. But yeah, like everything I do is for my parents. And like a lot of the times my dad is like, look, like I believe in you, I love you. And my dad is not an affectionate person at all. Like one time I said I love you, and he said thank you to me. So but that's just how he is, and I know that he loves me, you know, for everything that he's done. He definitely like would drive me around in high school, and like he knows. And so like sometimes like we're alone, and then he's like, you know, like I'm so excited to see you graduate and walk that stage. Aww. And I'm just like, don't say that, because I'm gonna cry. Like he's not affectionate at all. And so yeah, like I'm getting closer to that point in life. And then also my nephews. I have 5 little boys as nephews. they're like the oldest are 8 and the youngest is 1. And so like I think them seeing me like be away is hard, just because like although I go visit sometimes during the weekends, like one of my nephews is always so excited to see me, and he's like, why are you going back to school? And I'm like, because I have to. I have to. And it's just like, I hope that one day they're able to see like everything that I've done, and it's for them because like they're my future generation. And, you know, like, with the money that I get eventually and, like, you know, everything that I do, like, they're able to, like, see that and, like, also want to pursue higher education, just because it's a leg up in the system and in the world.
Yeah.
And then, too, like, why specifically sociology and, like, master's in education? I, like, obviously, like, I'm first gen, I'm low income and Latina. I've seen the struggles to applying to college. I've been in upward bound programs, and I've seen like the importance it is to have like mentors and stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to be that for like other students too. And so that's why I chose the path that I'm choosing. At first, I didn't know who I wanted to like serve. But at the end of the day, like that doesn't matter as long as I'm being an impact to someone, you know?
Yeah.
And like helping them follow their dreams.
Yeah, totally get that. I think I relate to that completely for like me going into film prod and like business. I just wanted to be able to, I realized like early on the impact, like when I was little, like just going to the movie theater, it can either be like an escape or it can be like you're shown something or you learn something new about somebody that you didn't know, you know? So I realized like this has a lot of power. Cinema has a lot of power. Anything visual has a lot of power to like make people feel something, get a message across.
Yeah.
You know, like audio, visual stuff. It's very, very important in society. So I knew from an early age that I needed to figure out a way to use that to amplify my voice, and then the voices of like the marginalized people that are not listened to. Like constantly I would hear stories all around me of like people, like their story of like how they immigrated, like stuff like that. And I was like, there needs to be like a movie about this, or like even just in Chicano studies, like learning about all the injustices that have happened to the Hispanic community and like the camps and like just like horrific stuff, and the fact that nobody knows really pisses me off, you know. And I think that's what really motivates me to want to perfect my craft, so that way I can, you know, bring that message across in a way that's like still entertaining, but like you learn something about it and you learn something about the community, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
I feel like we've talked to a lot of like film production on these podcasts, and they're all like say that like they want more representation, and I think that's really important, like especially because it's like something we consume a lot, and I think it's so impactful to like see someone on like TV who looks like me.
For sure, because I feel like there's such a lack, especially like in the Latino community. I never saw anyone on TV that looked like me growing up. Like
one day at a time.
Literally just like
that show's great.
One show here and there, but there's like nothing really. So I think it's super cool that like so many people are trying to do it now.
Yeah, there's definitely a wave that I'm like,
oh, for sure,
I'm glad to be a part of, because it's just like it's like the time is now. Like there is no better time, you know.
Makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I'm like, yay.
We can't make it, but we'll watch it.
How has your experience in college so far shaped your worldview and beliefs?
It opened up my world like completely. I think, especially like for me personally, I was living in such a toxic environment, and it can feel very suffocating, you know, when you're living in a toxic environment. And for a long time I thought that was it. Like, this is my world. This is who I'm gonna be. Like, the people around me, this is it. And it wasn't until like I took that leap, and like when I didn't even like, for me, college was not like a realistic thing. I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll go like community college and like, you know, do some stuff. Like, don't really think I need it to be a filmmaker. Like, it was just like not in the books for me, like personally. But then I realized like that's really the only way to escape this tiny little world that I'm in right now. And it definitely did that. Like, there was definitely a huge payoff to coming to college and like believing in myself, because it expanded my world exponentially into like understanding that there's so many different kinds of people, because I come from a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood, like predominantly Catholic, predominantly, you know, like it's like a very like dense populated area. So to like be able to come here, obviously there's downsides to being exposed to like a shit ton of privilege and like, you know, them.
The rich.
Yeah. But it's kind of like a a glimpse of reality. Like,
Yeah.
this is reality. Like, people live this way. And if that's a realistic thing for them, like, you can achieve that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
And I think being exposed to that really helped me, like, see, like, oh, I can do that too. Like, they're not even that talented, to be honest. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, some people you meet, you're like, okay. So I'm like, if they could do that, I could do that too. Like, I actually have the talent, you know what I'm saying? So it's like being able to see what your potential could be through other people that are around you, I think is so important. And also, like, I personally love being the least experienced person in the room. Like, I want to be, like, the least, like, I know a lot, but I want to be the one who knows the least in a room. You know, like, if you're the person who knows everything in every room, you're not growing. You can't grow in that environment, you know?
For sure.
So you have to go into environments where, like, you feel small sometimes so that you can expand. And I think that was really essential in, like, coming to LMU, and what really has happened for me, being able to grow into, like, all these different spaces and navigate them. And then also, like, going abroad and realizing, like, there's so many different, like, ways of living and religions and politics and views on life. And it's just like, this is not everything. Like, even LMU is not everything, you know? Like, there's so much beyond. And I think my view of the world has completely changed because I see it more globally. Like, there's so many different perspectives. Yeah. I think for so long it was like, I have to only share my perspective and, like, only know my perspective because it's always questioned, you know, like that kind of, like, defense mode all the time. But then understanding, like, there's a bunch of people who are not going to question you. Yeah. And it's like, oh, that's who you are. Like, that was really refreshing to me. And just getting to know people that are really freaking cool. Like, they have so many great, like, there's people here that have so many great talents and just, like, niche stuff that they do. Like, I navigate a lot of, like, the world of, like, music, and just meeting a bunch of artists, like, globally, that was crazy to me, like, how they get inspired and stuff like that. So I think it's only going to help me become a better filmmaker, and it's definitely impacted me in a positive way to be able to know, like, there's more.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, like Natalie, it's definitely opened up, like, my mind to different perspectives. I come from South Central LA, so predominantly Black and brown, like, community. I went to school there too. And also, like, my parents, very Christian ideologies and, like, things like that. And so coming to college, like, really made me see different perspectives, like, meet new people, and, like, be able to just find who I am, just because, like, I am the youngest. So a lot of, like, the stuff that my parents would, like, implement and stuff was, later on. But also because I'm the youngest, like, it was kind of more enforced on me just because I was a baby. And so I felt like I really didn't have any control because I always had to listen. And I was, like, always scared of my parents just because, like, you know, like, they're parents. But coming to college has very, like, much so allowed me to, like, grow as a person, figure out what I like, what I don't like, and just finding who I am and, like, developing my identity. And so, like, like, sometimes I don't necessarily agree with my parents, but I know, like, that's their, like, side and their views, and I don't necessarily have to, like, agree with them because, like, now as an adult, I can make my own decisions. I can think the way I want to think, and definitely being exposed to, like, different classes that I've taken just within my major and, like, in different, like, I guess, schools and departments have also taught me a lot too, just because I wasn't exposed to a lot of, like, different, like, religions or different ideologies, or I don't know, like,
me, the finance stuff, I was like, what the heck is this?
The finance, so that is super important. Like, financial literacy, like, we didn't know anything about, like, that in high school. First to Go has, like, helped me learn more about that, and also just, like, career classes that I've taken here. And honestly, like, I wouldn't know how to, like, make a resume if it wasn't for, like, things that I was exposed to here or how important it was. And just, like, honestly, like, thinking about how I've developed, like, my professional self too has had to do a lot with, like, college and my experiences and stuff. And, like, the way I speak too, like, sometimes I, like, get, like, butchered and, like, my words don't make sense. But, like, that code that code switching, you know, like, how I speak to my friends in, like, my community or at home is different from, like, how I present myself here in college. And that's just, like, something naturally that we have to do as first gen, you know? But definitely, like, has overall changed my perspective of everything. And honestly, like, if it wasn't for LMU, I've also, like, wouldn't have been able to travel. Like, this year alone and last year, I went to, well, during the summer, I was in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Different environment for sure. I don't think I would want to live there. LA always.
Yeah.
And then through that, I went to Canada for a conference. And then this year, I went to Belize. I'm going to Mexico. And then I was in the Mojave Desert for a class. So, like,
That's
definitely,
super cool.
like, different perspectives and, like, just opening myself up to, like, what's out there in the world. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Super cool. How has your perspective on your future career goals evolved since starting college?
I want you to go first, Miss Senior.
Yeah. I feel like Meadow has it locked in
I
already.
haven't locked. No, that's crazy. Like, I didn't know. I still don't know what I want to do, you know? Like, I have maybe a year figured out, but even then, like, what do I want as a long-term goal? And that can change within a year, a few months even. So coming into college in high school, I knew that I wanted to work with other students and kind of play, like, an advisor role for Upward Bound. Like, the Upward Bound programs, just because, like, my mentor was super impactful in my life. And I was like, if students are going through this, like, the same challenges, the same feelings and stuff, like, I want to be their support system.
Yeah.
Because no one should feel like this. And so I applied with sociology, and I was like, okay, like, maybe I'll change, maybe I won't, and maybe I'll add, maybe I won't. So I applied to all schools under sociology. I got in, whatever. I came to LMU. Started taking the classes, and I was like, okay, like, I like this, like, I with this. But then I was like, okay, like, what more can I add? What more do I want to do?
Yeah.
So I added Peace and Justice Studies through a friend. She told me about it, and I was like, okay, like, that's pretty cool. Like, I'm down. So I added it, then I finished, and I had a lot more space. So I was like, let me double minor or add another major. But I was like, double minor.
Yeah.
And so I was really between business, PR, or poli-sci. And so then when I did the McNair Scholars Program, I was like, I really had my mentor from the sociology department, Dr. Limoncelli, love her. She's a great person. She, like, really helped me, like, figure out what I wanted to do with my research, and then which kind of led on to, like, okay, like, what do I want to do as career? Through McNair, I also went into, like, this REU, which is, like, a research experience off campus at Duke, and I did a PhD mock in poli-sci, and for a very long time, I was, like, trying to convince myself that I wanted to do research for, like, the rest of my life and this and that. But once I did that, I realized that that is not something that I'm, like, passionate about.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a great skill, and I like it, but it's not what I wanted to do. Like, because I saw how other people, like, would be so passionate about, like, the data they found and all this stuff. But I was like, what I'm passionate about and what I want to do is through First to Go. Like, like, how working one-on-one with students, being able to support them, like physically be there, you know, be present. And so I think I went through a whole crisis over the summer once I came back, because I was really trying to convince myself, like, research it is. But then no, I was like, be realistic and be honest. And I
BFFR.
Be for real. Like, and then I talked to Lexi, and Lexi has supported me. Like, even when I make the dumbest decisions and things like that, she'd be like, I do this, but you can do whatever you want at the end. And I end up doing what I want. And she's like, I told you so.
She's all,
and I'm
wow.
like, I guess. But yeah, like, I knew, like, making a decision was going to be hard. But I feel like I'm content with the decision that I made.
Yeah.
And it's developed over time. At first, I wanted to work solely with high school students. And then when I came to college, I started working for First to Go. And I saw, like, the challenges there, like, you know, that students face. And I want to work with college students in higher ed. But then I'm open to a lot. I, like, want to work with, like, girls from the Women in Entertainment Mentorship Program, too. So hopefully one day, like, once I'm done with my master's, I'm able to do that. But yeah, like, it's stayed the same over time, but developed. But it's definitely taken a lot of, like, dipping my toes in different things in order to, like, for me to realize what I wanted to pursue after college. But even then now, like, I know what I want to do, like, right after I get my master's. But even then, like, I know that I want to grow more, and that's where I want to, like, figure it out.
Yeah.
And I still have to, like, figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, I've always known that I wanted to be a director. Like, that was just, like, baseline, right? But then coming to college and actually doing everything. I mean, I went to a film production magnet, so, like, I had experience, like, doing all the projects already. And I was like, yeah, directing is for me. And it's still for me. Like, I love directing. I think what changed was, like, what I want to direct. Like, I was like, oh, I want to do films. And, like, I'm not closed off to that completely. But I just think that, like, me personally, I love things that intersect more, like, short format. Like, they're very expressive, like, more like music videos. But I think that, like, how you were saying, like, that all came from just exploring so many different things. Like, I threw myself into anything and everything that came my way.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, my resume looks weird. Like, it's, like, crazy, but it's just, like, I was like, oh, okay, like, I know this person who works here. Like, let me just, like, volunteer for them. Or I know this person who's there. Like, let me just do that. Because I wanted to know, because the entertainment industry is so huge and there's so many different avenues you could go down. I was like, I want to know. There's, like, this thing you like, feel like you have to know exactly what you want to do because you have to focus all your time on that. And I think over time, now that I'm a junior, I feel like that's a misconception. Like, you don't need to, even at our stage, like, you don't need to know exactly, like, your 5-year plan. It's, like, it's good to explore. Like, this is the perfect time to not know what you're going to do, to not, like, put that pressure on yourself. Obviously, like, have a purpose in mind. And then I think that purpose will guide you even more than, like, a specific trade or a specific profession. Like, if you know that you want to help people, explore all the different things that help people and then, like, go to that. And I knew that I wanted to tell people stories, so I was like, let me explore all the different types of stories people tell. So then I did, like, award shows. I was like, this is award shows. Like, it's a great environment because you're, like, around all these people, but it's like it's not a story. It's just, like, they're getting accolades. And then I did reality TV for a while, and I was like, this is not reality. So I don't know about how I feel about this, and it felt, like, very empty a little bit. And then I did game shows, and it's just, like, I just did everything, and I felt more connected to music videos and, like, short TV show, like, episodes and, like, that kind of stuff, and documentaries, because I felt like they have more room to tell things with intention, like, and be more truthful, even though it's fiction, at least for, like, that stuff, not for a documentary. But I was like, okay, I now I know that this is what I love to do. And I was kind of like, I don't know why I thought, like, because in the film buff world, like, if you're, like, a music video director, like, you're not considered, like, oh, like, elite or whatever. Like, you have to be, like, a film director.
Oh, I see.
I interned at London Alley, which is what really showed me, like, the possibility of music videos. And not to say that I'm not open to doing everything. I just feel like I know now where I want to direct my time more towards. Because my whole philosophy in, like, going into school, I was like, if I'm going to go to school, which I didn't, like, necessarily want to do. I was like, if I'm going to go to school, I'm going to make the best of it. And, like, at LMU, like, you know, we have, like, the whole, like, holistic person. And I was like, okay, bet. So I'm going to, like, make sure I get that education. And Cardi B once said, take a business class. And so I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm going to take a business class because the entertainment industry is a business. And I was like, if I'm going to, as a first gen, like, having to navigate these spaces on my own, I was like, if I'm going to do that, I need to know the language, you know, like, code switch. I need to know the language that these people speak so that I can better represent myself and know what I'm doing. So I was like, I'm going to take a business class, and not just a business class. I'm going to add a business minor and become more financially literate and know all these things. Like, now, even when I'm in accounting, which is, like, a boring, you would think, class, but I'm like, oh my god, these are the hacks. Like, this is how they get, like, tax write-offs, and, like, this is their, you know, this is, like, all the things that I wasn't exposed to. So I was like, okay, this is good. Like, I'm learning this. I'm learning how to cultivate my voice as an artist, which was hard in itself because even here, like, even though it's, like, it's a small film school, there was times where I didn't feel like my voice. There's always times where I don't feel like my voice is heard. Or, like, that they're understanding what I'm trying to show in this film or, like, whatever it is. Because there's just, like, a part of them is never going to understand it. Like there's a part of people that's never going to understand what it's like to be first gen, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of, I had to like figure out how to do that and like find my voice. And then I also added Chicano studies because I was like, if I'm going to be a face of like change, if that's what like I'm saying I want to do, right? I need to hold myself accountable to like, do I really know my shit? Like, do I know what like Chicanos have gone through? Do I know what like the history? I didn't really know too much. Like I know what I've personally gone through like in contemporary times, but not like the history of it. So I was like, if I'm going to do this and not do it in a distasteful way, like we're saying, like we constantly see like misrepresentation in the media. Yeah. I was like, I need to know the basis of what it is to be a Chicana so I could fortify my identity and then be able to translate that better into film. So my entire philosophy has been like very intentional and like hitting all the marks to make myself like as, I don't know, like as complete of a
well-rounded.
Yeah, well-rounded person. Like I just want to be a well-rounded person. That has been like my goal since day one. And I'm not the type of person that makes 5-year plans. I don't like. I really wish I was that girly like that. Like wrote down like in 1 year I want to have this, and then I'm gonna get married, and then. But it's just like I can't because I don't know. I just don't do that. Yeah. So for me, I kind of just like to take it as it goes. Like even now as a junior, it's definitely scary because I've done so many random things. I'm like, okay, I've opened up so many doors. Like I could go into any field at this point. Like I've made connections everywhere. So it's really like now up to me to go back internally and do that work of like, what is your purpose? What did you intend to do? Yeah. And then find the space where I could do that the best. Like right now I work in tech, which is random, but it's like I'm learning how these people like navigate these industries, and like I'm learning so much from like my boss and just like how to be an entrepreneur. And then that's so important in like being a filmmaker. So I think just like constantly relearning more about myself on this journey is like so helpful. Not to say that I have like, okay, I'm gonna be this, but I will say I do one of my end goals is to be like a signed director to like an agency, and then just get like contracted for like music videos and TV shows and just like a lot of different format stuff. I love documentaries because I did that in Germany, and I think documentaries is something that I'm more passionate about now because, I realize how like raw you can be in a documentary. Yeah. Like you can really get to know a person just sitting down and talking to them, you know? And I really love that. And I think the best way for, I guess in like the stories of the marginalized, the best ways to tell their story is to let them tell it, you know? Like let their voice actually be heard instead of like putting a voice on them. So I found a new love for documentary. So I don't know. I see myself going into a lot of different fields, but with the same intention.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you guys have any projects that you're working on that you're excited about, or just like anything?
I can go first. I'm currently working on a documentary about Puerto Rican resistance for my Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico class, which I'm really excited about because I'm getting to interview like Puerto Rican entrepreneurs. I mean, all my shit ties together, but like I'm interviewing Puerto Rican entrepreneurs and then a Puerto Rican rap artist. So I'm really excited to do that. It's been really interesting to like learn about the history of Puerto Rico. Just like I've been trying to learn more about different Latino cultures because we're so diverse. Yeah. So I think that class is really exciting. Getting to learn about how music intersects with like race and oppression, and just specifically Puerto Rico. I'm very excited for this project because we're getting to like get one-on-one conversations with these people. Yeah. And just learn more about that. And what else do I have going on? I'm also currently casting for a series. I'm casting for a series about a young boy who like goes through a lot very young, and that kind of shapes who he becomes as an adult. He's just around a lot of violence, a lot of like drug usage. It's not really that different from a lot of things and a lot of stories that I meet like of friends and like peers, you know. But it was written by a friend named Dalton, and it's being co-written by somebody else who goes to LMU named Samantha. And I'm really excited about that because it's kind of like, it's independent from everything going on at school. Like, it's just something like I get to do on my own. And I've learned that like that's projects like that are so important into keeping you like grounded in like your general like what you love.
Yeah.
Even if it's like photography, like I did photography for a long time because I was like, I need an outlet, you know. But that project is really exciting to me because I'm finally going to be able to like do something that's just like mine. You know?
That's super cool.
I'm excited for that. Yeah.
Cool.
I don't necessarily have like any projects. I'm a senior, so
You're going to UCLA.
Yeah, you can talk about.
I was gonna
you have an interview after this.
Calm down. I was getting
You're
there.
making it seem like I don't have anything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're doing good things,
I was
though.
gonna say that I don't have projects because I'm already a senior, but like my research is already like done and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to UCLA. I have to commit still. I have to press that button.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, like I'm just looking forward to like the year and stuff. I know it's gonna be challenging just because it's like a transition and change. But I think like I intentionally did that. You know, I could have stayed another 2 years at LMU, but I like didn't end up applying just because I found out I had gotten to UCLA, and I was like, I think it's time for me to branch out.
Yeah.
And there's just so many people at UCLA and like different things. So I was like, it's time. It's sad, but like it's something good. Good. Yeah. But that's
You can
it.
still come and visit us.
Yeah.
Yes,
And we'll go visit you.
Yes, you guys should go visit me.
I'm going. We're carpooling.
Invite us over. We will be there.
So are you going to live in UCLA?
That's the thing. I'm trying to be an assistant RD.
Ooh.
Just because like one, you get like the housing, and then two, you also get meals.
Oh, that's nice.
And that's my interview for like.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
For I think it's at 12. And so yeah, and I also like all the stuff that I've done in First to Go, kind of like can translate to like that role. And so I'm super excited. Like if I were to get the position, like I would be able to do a lot of the stuff I'm already doing, but also like at a different capacity.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'll keep you
That's
guys updated.
super cool.
Yeah.
I heard the
so-
food there is really good.
Yeah, they have a lot of good food. So I'm excited.
Not the TikToks about the dining hall versus our dining hall.
No, stop.
There's some versus ours.
Yeah.
Ours is so awful.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, LMU.
Sorry, how are you?
But not sorry, because you don't treat workers right. So.
Right.
True. True.
Is this gonna be in the podcast?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah, of
We've
course.
called people out before.
Oh, really?
Well, it was like for the FM workers, remember?
Oh, we did. I don't know
Yeah.
if we made it.
I think we did. Yeah, we talked about it on
I think we did.
because I remember,
One.
yeah, because it was like the scary side of being first gen, and we mentioned it for sure
Yeah.
for a while.
No.
But yeah,
Super important.
it is.
Well, we've been
Yeah.
filming for an hour now, so.
Yeah, but thank you
Yeah,
guys
thank you.
for allowing us to interview you. You guys are so insightful, and you have so much good information.
Very happy to be here.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I like really liked all you guys' advice. And
Yeah.
I like feel so
Yeah.
good about
I
myself
know.
now.
I was like, oh, I need to
What a
take
great way to
notes.
start the day.
No,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's like, I think one thing that I would like to leave everyone here today, I think it's like, you never know what you want to do for the rest of your life. And
Yeah.
that's just going to change. And like, always reach out to your support systems and your networks and stuff because you never know what can happen.
Yeah.
Keep them close, keep the connections, like ask for help because like no one's gonna know what you need if you're not gonna like if you don't say it, right?
Closed
You have to
mouths don't
advocate
get
for
fed.
yourself.
Closed mouths
Yeah.
don't get fed. And as
Yeah.
first gen, like we have to advocate for ourselves. Just because like no one else is gonna know that we're first gen or know that like we're struggling. So that's super important.
Yeah, for sure.
I would definitely say, like, if you're an artist, just, like, always return to what got you into it in the first place, like, what your voice is. Even when you're not listening, nobody's listening and nobody cares and you just feel like you're doing it for nothing. Just, like, keep honing in on your voice. That's so important. And don't let the influence of, like, what everybody else is doing, like, deter you from, like, what you know is important. I think being first gen is so powerful in an industry like the entertainment industry because you're so unique, you're so different, you have a really unique story to tell, and like don't be afraid to share it. And I would also say, like, going off of what you said about like asking for help and all that stuff, and just like having a connection, a group of people with you, I would say like establish your community very early on, but also be willing to invite more people into it and constantly grow it, or it's gonna change over the years.
Yeah.
I would definitely also say like bring people up with you. Like that's such a big thing. Like bring people into the room with you. Like the biggest pet peeve of mine in like the Hispanic community is like sometimes you're the only person in the room and you're like, okay, well there's only one spot for a Latina in this room, so I'm gonna take up the spot. And that's not the case at all. Like you have to bring in more people because there's such a diverse like community of us, and I think the more of us the better, especially in positions of power. Like if you can get yourself in that area, that is so important. Like just go towards that and don't be afraid of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Lift as you rise.
Yes.
That's super important.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. If you want to like plug anything, give us your socials right now. If not, it's totally cool.
I'll give my socials. My directing page is at directed_by_Nat.
Ooh.
That's my directing page. It's also my TikTok. My personal Instagram is _only_Nat, and I just have like underscores so many.
It's okay.
But yeah,
we'll put it in.
Yeah,
but
we'll put it in
like
the
my
description.
YouTube and all that stuff is linked and all that stuff. But yeah, check out my films. I hope it makes you guys like feel something.
Yeah.
They're very weird. So
That's okay.
be warned, like they're very weird.
That is totally
But I
fine.
pride myself in like making people uncomfortable, like in my films. So
I like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember my social media, I'm not gonna lie.
That is
I think-
totally fine.
I think my Insta is VeroG, so VeroGee_15. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know how many E's there are.
We'll check for
We'll
you.
put it-
Don't
we'll
worry.
put it in.
We'll put it in
you.
the description.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
for watching. We'll see
Yeah.
you next time.
In the next episode, you know where to find us.
For the Gen, Twitter,
For the Gen.
Instagram,
TikTok,
YouTube,
all the
anywhere you
podcasts,
listen to your
Spotify,
podcast.
whatever.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yay.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. You guys